Hello and welcome back to Studio 3246, the OD, for the Hold the Line Sports Betting Podcast, where we do the work so you don't have to. Today marks episode 3 of the broadcast. You almost stopped at 2, I'll be honest with you boys. With the way my weekend went, I almost retired. I almost found a new host. But I took some time to reflect. I decided that I am a warrior and I will persevere through this adversity. I'll go more into detail about the failed adventure that was week 2 for my sake, but I'd love to kick it over to Brandon, who's going to go over a recap of the games of the week and how we did there. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, you're completely right. We did face some adversity, but you know what they say about gambling? Yeah, you're only one good bet away from hitting it big. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to stop. You shouldn't either. Games of the week. We're looking at Texas, Michigan. Texas, juggernaut unit. Okay, Michigan, exactly how we thought the game was going to go. This was all of our locks of the week last week, I think, as far as games of the week. And Texas absolutely dominated Michigan in every single aspect of the football game. Their defense looked good. Michigan's defense didn't look good. I think Quinn Ewers, big-time Heisman candidate. So, moving on to Tennessee, NC State. Tennessee, they could be a team to be reckoned with. I think a lot of people overlook them.
Hey, Beans, how do we say his name?
Yep, quarterback. Nico.
I don't think that's what's his last name?
Come on, go for it.
Emil Leva.
Good.
No, that's
Could have been way worse.
I heard the,
It could've been worse.
Could have been way worse.
I heard the pronunciation on the broadcast. Imanaliava.
Emanaliava.
That doesn't even say. That sounds worse than what Nate said.
I like Nate's better. Nate, say it the way that you want to say it. I like yours better.
But however we're going to say it, pretty good quarterback. I think Tennessee is, I don't know if this was a combination of NC State being bad or Tennessee being better than expected. Tennessee takes that one 51-10, wasn't even close. Then we move ahead to Colorado, Nebraska. Now, I never claimed to be a Colorado fan, never claimed to be a Deion fan.
False.
But this is a big
I don't think either of these things are true.
This is a big heartfelt loss from Colorado. They looked absolutely terrible. It looks like they have a marketing expert as their head coach instead of an actual football coach or program builder. Nebraska, honestly, looked like a typical football team. Just, didn't make many mistakes. Just Raiola. How do we say that, Nate? Raiola, doesn't matter.
One of the two.
He might be legit. He might be goated. So, that one finishes. What was the final score of that game? Do we know that?
28-10, I believe.
28-10.
People calling Raiola Patton Apartments because he looks like him.
Just doing tricks on it, man. I'm actually tired of seeing that stuff. His like, like the way he like carries himself is just too much.
The cosplay has gone too far.
It's like if you guys have seen the Jason Tatum and Kobe stuff, it's literally worse than that when it comes to him acting like he's Patrick Mahomes. Good role model to have, but there's something to be said. Be your own person. So those are our games of the week.
All right, so updated standings for the games of the week. I am actually sitting at 5-1, which is just mind-boggling for me to see after you guys see the individual plays that I did. Brandon's sitting pretty at 4-2. Nate and Will tied at 3-2, so everyone's over 500. Everyone's competitive here. We're all
really
competing
should
through
be
week
5-1.
I thought it was 4-2. Pretty sure both me and Beans are 4-2 as well. Because we all picked the
Oh,
game.
yeah. Well, 3-2 only equals 5.
Yeah,
and
true.
there have been 6 plays. So you might be onto something, except for the fact that you guys both went 1-2 the first week, didn't you?
And we went 3-0 this week.
Wait.
4-2. Okay. So
All right.
everyone's
Checks
tied
out.
except okay. So I'm
Nathan math.
Yeah. No, that's yikes. It is late. It is a late broadcast, so it's understandable. Okay. So yeah, me at 5-1. Everyone else 4-2. So neck and neck.
Over 500.
Thick of the playoff race. Before we move on to 3 individual picks from each of us, yes, we dropped it down from 5 to 3 due to time constraints. I'm going to call this segment a word with Nate. Nate, if you can describe week 2 in one word, what would you use? What word?
Ooh. You got me on this one. I'm not very good with words if y'all hadn't heard that yet.
This is why I did the segment.
Yeah.
Give us something, Nate.
Surprise me with that one.
Surprising.
Surprising. It's the easiest word to
You
say.
just bailed him out.
Yeah, thank you.
I got you.
Cam, help me out. You're the word master.
No, this was your segment, but
yeah.
because you failed at the segment, Brandon, I want your word to describe week 2.
I would say I was going to go with inspiring.
Ooh.
Yep.
See, you could have done that, Nate.
Yep.
I think I got a good one too.
Will, what's your word?
Blowouts.
Plenty
Fair.
of those.
Yep.
Plenty of those. I think a lot of teams made statements this week.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to 3 individual picks. If you watched the last podcast, I had 5. It does not matter which 5 that I picked. I missed all 5. So I'm going to wear the L proudly. Like I said, I'm a warrior, and warriors persevere through adversity, and that's what I'm going to do. I had the Duke money line, but I gave the money line to Will because he had a stake in Northwestern as well. So I went under. Fellas, this game right here, it was 13. I don't know. You guys can run the tape back too. We can run the tape back. The last episode, I said Duke was going to win something like 17-13. Can anyone verify that's what I said?
You did.
Can
Correct.
confirm.
It was 13-10 Northwestern with a minute to go in the game. And Duke is on the 2-yard line. They'd been burning Northwestern with this little slant over the middle, this underneath route over the middle the entire day. Malik Murphy's got his guy in the end zone, wide open, and he overthrows him. So they settle for a field goal, and they go into overtime, 13-13. Now, the under would hit at this point if anything else would have happened. But they continued to score touchdowns over and over again in overtime, and the final score ended up being 26-20, which is more than 39.5. So an absolutely heartbreaking loss for me, and it does not end there, boys. It only gets worse. This one's not quite as bad because I knew it was going to be a good game, so I was fine with it. Georgia Tech, I had them beating Syracuse. I thought they were going to really make a statement, have a tough road win. Competitive game. By the fourth quarter, it was a competitive game. Before that, it was kind of a blowout. Syracuse actually, they're pretty dangerous offensively. Georgia Tech showed some good resilience, brought it to within a field goal, but couldn't get the ball back, and time ran out on them. So Syracuse won 30-27. So another heartbreaking loss. The worst one of the day was Wake in Virginia. This was my lock of the week. I was sold on every aspect of this game. I had Wake winning. Virginia ends up winning 31-30. Wake was up by 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter, dominating every phase of the game. Virginia, whose quarterback is also kind of a dog. He was almost my dog of the week. We'll go over that later. Really good comeback. They take the lead 31-30. Wake Forest does get the ball back with like a minute to go, and Backmeyer drives Wake Forest down to the play went to like the 25 or the 30, so like into field goal range. In field goal range, Taylor Morin, their number 1 receiver, fumbles and gives the ball up, and then Virginia gets it back, and they take a kneel down to win the game 31-30. So 3 losses that I just could not have foreseen going any worse. That's enough for me because now I'm getting angry all over again. So we'll go over to Brandon so he can go over his individual plays.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We did not do as bad as Cam. I wouldn't say we did good.
I don't think anyone in the world did.
Our 3 games we're going with, I just want to go ahead and apologize to the viewers out there because my first pick of the week and my conference of the great, it just means more SEC, was Kentucky minus 8.5 against South Carolina. Looking back on this now, I probably need to give up betting forever because Kentucky should not be an SEC school anymore after this.
They looked rough.
They looked like they were a Helen Keller School of the Deaf and Blind team. So I actually did go back and look at my notes that I had on Kentucky earlier this year. Tough road schedule for Kentucky. They have some pressing injuries on the defensive line, new QB, lacks experience. The biggest thing I say is they will lack explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball, and that could not have been more of a true statement. Vandegrift, 3 for 10 for 30 yards.
That's like make believe.
3 for 10 for 30 yards in the air. I don't know how that's possible for a college quarterback. Like you can literally just like jet touch pass in NCAA counts as a completed pass. Like you literally could do that 3 times and have better stats.
I'm certain all of us could pull that off.
Absolutely. I literally think I could go out there right now in a college football game and do that. Not to mention the run game. Kentucky does like to run the football. That's been Mark Stoops' MO for the longest time. They want to run the football. Bad news is the offensive line sucks. The team had 46 carries for 139 yards. That's terrible. That's an average of 3 yards per carry. Not going to get it done. Not to mention they had 4 fumbles and threw 2 interceptions. I think this South Carolina team, this will be good news for Will because I think Florida will come out with a better record than Kentucky after this year. So
No shot.
Looking at Kentucky's schedule, they got to play Georgia, Ole Miss, Florida. I see Florida winning that game because it's at Florida. They got to play Auburn, who look bad, though. Still think Auburn's a better football team. They got to play Tennessee, Texas, and Louisville.
Did you see Vandegrift's rush yards because of stats or because of sacks? Sorry.
Was it minus like 20?
It was like minus 20, 27, 29, yeah.
Now, on the flip side of that bet, Sellers did look good. He was 11 for 15, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defense had 5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss for South Carolina. Their defensive line is pretty good. Pretty good. Now, I will say that was probably the worst bet I've ever taken in my life. That's why moving forward to next week, we'll get into that later. But we might have a little South Carolina money line play against LSU, so we'll see. Moving ahead to Arkansas, Oklahoma State. This is one of my 3 that I did pick that did hit. Now, to Cam's point about the Duke score, you can roll the tape back. I said this Arkansas, Oklahoma State. I took the over 61.5. I told everybody it was going to be a 37-31 football game. It was a 39-31 football game. That, unfortunately, Oklahoma State did win, but good thing I took the over. Game did go into overtime. Biggest surprises out of that game, Taylor Green looked excellent, 26 for 45 with 416 yards. He was running all over the football field as well. Can't believe they lost. That sucks because I did hint at the fact of taking Arkansas money line because they are kind of an explosive offensive team. But over did hit. Might take a lot of Arkansas overs in the future just because they can score the football. Their defense just is not up to SEC standard. Now, another one that I missed. Well, I can go ahead and just say a little bit about Alabama to get Nate involved a little bit. I did take Alabama minus 18.5. That didn't hit. Why didn't that hit, Nate?
Very poor play on the offensive line and defensive secondary.
The right tackle.
And I think we had two touchdowns
called
get called back for penalties. Yeah. Does that happen under Saban? I don't know. Something to think about.
Just undisciplined.
Penalties,
undisciplined
even
unit.
with Saban past 3 years, penalties has been a big problem. I don't know if it's because of underclassmen or, discipline, but hopefully we'll have that figured out this week.
Now, the game that I did take and that one lost as well, Auburn, California. I had Auburn. It was actually my quote-unquote plus money play of the week, but I got it at even because I think I bought it to Auburn minus 13.5. I think you could potentially say this was a worse bet than Kentucky and South Carolina because
I placed this one as well.
I think we said on last podcast we should take Auburn as high as you could possibly get it.
Like
thought it was going to be a blowout.
That's on us. So, I mean, my comparison notes for this game, I compared Auburn to the Falcons of last year, where we have a ton of explosive weapons, but we have Peyton Thorne as the quarterback, and he sucks. You heard it here first. Not a dog. Not going to make plays on offense for your team.
Like a real small dog, like a chihuahua.
Like a little rat or something.
Yeah.
I need to request a Venmo from him.
Yeah. The bettors are on him, man, and we might be among the bettors.
It just looked like, I mean, I had Auburn 13.5. They lost the football game. It just looked like California asked them, they tried to lose the football game as much as they could, and Auburn just would not accept it. They just said, nope, we're good. We don't want this one.
No.
So, tough look. The over did hit. I mean, anytime I take an over 60 points, that's kind of scary. I mean, I did almost call the correct score, so that helps a little bit. Overtime helped a little bit. But, yeah, when we talk about I think my lock of the week was Texas 6.5, so that hit. So that's my games of the week. I think we're over to Will.
So before we do that, like, how crazy is it? Like, think about Vanderbilt and just like year in and year out. There's always questions in the SEC, like, you know, there's going to be a lot of competition, a lot of good competitive teams, and then there's Vandy. And Vandy is always like in this like tier of their own as like the bottom of the barrel. And I believe there are 2, maybe 3 teams that are legitimately worse than Vandy this year.
They'd be good games.
Which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
When I look at everybody in the SEC, I see 3 teams now. So there's 16 teams in there. I see 13 of them actually competing for playoff spots, and the 3 that are just trash and are not going to probably have a winning record and are not going to go bowling this year. Unfortunately, Florida, sorry, Will.
Unfortunately.
Just facts. Schedule hurts them too. Kentucky now, they are absolute trash, and then Mississippi State. So, and fun fact, South Carolina is a leaderboard. They're top of the leaderboard in the SEC right now because they only have one SEC game.
Might not last, but they're up there right now.
I don't know.
Take a picture of it.
I don't know. We'll get into that later.
Their
South
quarterback's a
Carolina
great
LSU
tackler.
this week.
All right, so let's go over to Will. Talk about yours.
So my 3, I went 2-1. Of course, my lock is the one that didn't hit.
That's how it goes.
Iowa minus 2.5. It wouldn't have hit anyway, but they lost in a heartbreak. I also had their money line in a parlay, which the other one hit. So their 2.5 wouldn't have hit. 20-19, they lost. Iowa was up 13 at one point in this game. With their defense, that should be an automatic win. Even if you score 3 more points, you should win this game 23-20, call it a day. Iowa's defense is top in the country, and you're up 13. So, but Iowa, they got stopped for 2 chip shot field goals, so could have had a lot more points than they did. Even one of those turns into a touchdown. They're covering easily.
Should have gone against the model.
No. But I will say in the second half, Rocco Becht, we got to remember that name. He is very good.
Write that down. Nate, write that down.
Got it.
Future dog.
He was very good as a freshman last year, kind of coming into his own as a sophomore now. I think is he the next Brock Purdy?
Question mark?
Same school. But yeah, also the Iowa running back it was all of Iowa's offense as well. Kind of want to give a shout out to him, Caleb Jackson. 25 for 187 and 2 touchdowns. There are only 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, he was very good for Iowa. And honestly, I think Iowa outplayed Iowa State. It's just sometimes the luck of the draw doesn't fall your way.
Like the same. It was the same exact thing with the Wake game. Like Wake outplayed Virginia, and then it's just sometimes it doesn't matter at the end of the fourth. Just the game is the result doesn't always indicate who the better team was.
But yeah, then we go over to my plus money play of the week. It hit Duke money line. No, Cam's a little salty about that one. But
It's all right. I bet on it.
But yeah, Duke, they didn't look good, but neither did Northwestern. 2 pretty bad teams going at it. So if I can get a less bad team at plus money, and I think Malik Murphy is actually somewhat of a decent quarterback. He can make some plays. He's a big dude.
He's just he's a playmaker. He's really volatile though. Like he's super inconsistent. Like one play, because the arm strength is there, so one play you'll see like, oh, that's an absolute dime, and then just really bad decision making on the next. So he's a roller coaster ride when you watch him play.
Yeah.
Also take note, if you ever bet on a Northwestern home game, check the wind.
Yeah.
They said that was a big thing like throughout the game was like he's going against the wind here. He's going into the wind here. The announcers were clearly local. So they said that almost every possession.
Yeah. This game was absolutely horrible to watch in regulation. Overtime was fun.
Overtime, yeah, that was actually dope. Like it got pretty good.
That falls more so on our weather girl.
Yeah, where is she again? Where's the weather girl?
So
nowhere to be
just
found,
to give the fans a heads up, we do have a weather girl that's supposed to give us weather informations. Have any of you guys gotten information about the weather the last 2 weeks?
No.
Nope, not till after we put our bet in for that game.
Yeah.
What'd you say the win was that night?
After the game? Okay. So, yeah. So
What'd you say it was? Because you sent us a text. It was
there was like 30-mile-an-hour winds.
30?
Yeah. So
knowing that was a
which
low-scoring
one?
game, it would have been nice to know that about field goals.
Northwestern.
Yeah,
and
they're
Duke,
like right next to the water too. So.
Yeah. I mean, so if this happens again, we might be hitting Zillow or Indeed
transfer
for
portal.
The transfer.
Indeed, for a new weather girl. So
We know it's always beautiful at Syracuse.
that's facts.
Yeah, in that dome.
But yeah, Duke won that game. Jordan Moore, the Duke wide receiver, he didn't score the 2 touchdowns that I wanted. There was a guy who had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns. But
he
this-
had like 8 catches though.
yeah, he actually had 11 catches for 121 yards.
He was the one that he kept going across the middle, and it was open
Dog.
every single play. And he was also the guy that was open in the end zone
Yeah.
for the touchdown that was dropped or overthrown.
Yeah, he looked very good out there. And then next play, Rutgers over 39.5. I don't know if you guys can clip it, but I said back in the last podcast that Rutgers could cover this by themselves. And the number was 39.5. They scored 49 points. So they covered by themselves.
I can't wait till we actually get the editing prowess to like actually clip these
Me
and
too.
just put that moment of time into the podcast. So you guys know, I mean, most of us aren't going to go rewatch the entire thing, but one day we're going to have that editing down, and we will run those back so you guys
we can
know.
literally post a clip of the game happening with our voiceover.
Yes.
But yeah, Rutgers actually looks somewhat decent. Kyle Monengai, I could have said that wrong, but he is very good. He had 27 carries, 208 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
Have a day.
Dog.
And then also
Yeah, potential dog.
Ethan Kaliak-Manis. They got some names over there at Rutgers.
Ooh.
He also looked actually pretty good. He wasn't asked to do a ton, but he actually had some deep balls. I was watching. He had one absolute dime in the end zone for like a 40-yard touchdown. It was great. But yeah, he wasn't really asked to do much, but he actually looked good when he was asked to do things. So yeah, 2-1 overall. Just to go over a little bit as my overall weekend as well. I went 11-3 in the Big Ten Conference. It's kind of my specialty. So 11-3, 21-12 overall in the year. So I think we figured something out here, boys.
Yeah, you might be onto something. I probably need to drink whatever you're drinking.
Red Bull,
Okay.
Sponsor
So
us.
not vodka, Red Bull.
Red Bull, and some Coors. Some
Okay.
nice Coors.
Okay.
Mountains are blue.
But yeah, we'll go over to Nathan.
Before we move on, just a heads up, if you guys aren't following the HTL Sports Betting Instagram, I had my play of the day up. It just hit, Twins -1.5. We also bet on baseball, pretty much any sport you can think of. We are plugged in. So if you're not checking that out, I do win some of my plays. One of them just hit, so this is like an alert, so I wanted to make sure so you guys didn't think I was totally useless. Twins -1.5 did hit. There will be more to come tomorrow. Over to you, Nate.
Yeah, so I went 1-3 in the beautiful American Athletic Conference this week. So this is going to be a very quick segment right here. I want to start off with Eastern Carolina versus Old Dominion. I just want y'all to know this is 2 weeks in a row where me and the Fade God argued, and I came out on top. I had ECU -3.5 at +105. ECU did win that game 20-14. Now let's take note of this just going forward. They're still my team. I'm rolling with them until they prove me wrong. Jake Garcia did have 4 interceptions again. He had 6 the prior week, or he had 6 turnovers the prior week, 4 this week. Now
So he has 10
he's
on the
in
year.
double digits after week 2.
he's letting it eat, baby. He's throwing it all over the field. He's letting it
Jameis
eat.
Winston.
He's letting it eat.
How many of them are
I
fumbles?
love that.
None of them are fumbles
I know for sure he has thrown at least 8 picks.
in 2 weeks.
God.
So
How does he have a job?
He's
'Cause
got
they're winning
confidence.
games.
He
They're 2-0.
believes.
yeah, they're 2-0, and I will say this: their defense is actually super legit, very
Well,
good. Their
they have
average
to
giving
be.
up
They
8.5.
have to
Yeah, they got to bail him out.
Yeah,
every
I mean,
10
possession.
turnovers.
Yeah. So, last thing on that game, with all that being said, their running back Harris did have 26 carries for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he did carry the load for Garcia because he obviously could not.
I'm still
Fair to
shocked.
say.
I'm still shocked. I could go out there and have less than 10 turnovers.
I mean, I could have 10. Like I get to keep my job with 10.
Quarterback draws.
I'm about it.
I mean,
I'm
I would
about it.
legit be like, Coach called a pass play. No, I'm just handing it off. No turnovers for me.
Clock management.
Yeah. So Jay Garcia is not off to a great start, but the team is as a whole, and they've already on track to be improved from last year, which was not hard to do.
What was their over under for wins.
I had their over-under wins this year. They were at, let me just pull it up real quick for you. I have a whole list of it. Their over-under was 6.5. So they're on pace to definitely be better than that, especially with the
high
schedule they have
for-
right
I
now.
thought that was I was expecting like a 4.5.
For like a team with guys 10 turnovers.
Well, they didn't know he was going to do that going
Yeah,
into the
I mean-
year. They probably thought he improved.
I mean, shoot,
Did
they
not.
have 10 turnovers. They're 2-0. Just cut them down.
So, I mean, there's something holding that team together, and it's definitely
Not
not
Jake
him.
Garcia.
So I did just confirm. I did say 8 interceptions, but he is currently at 7. No better.
Oh, that's one
But
better.
That's a little better.
Pretty good.
Fine.
3.5 a game.
He's fine.
He's currently at
Fine.
7. And just a note, in 2022, last time he got decent reps, he had 114 attempts and he only threw 4 interceptions. So
So he's just in a little slump.
just
He's
a little
regressed.
slump here.
he got worse.
A little slump. All right, so moving on from that, like I said, I'm going to be on the East Carolina train just because I love how their defense is and how they play.
And the quarterback play.
Yeah,
I might be on the train strictly for that. I want to see how this goes.
maybe another plus money pick for them coming up this week.
Who they
We'll
playing?
see. App State. We'll have to dive into that one.
Might have to.
Have to dive into it coming off a big loss,
Quick
as we all know.
note: Cam had App State plus what was it, 20.5?
Yeah, go ahead and just pile it
think
on.
so.
Just pile it on.
And it was what, 66
Just
to
to
20?
give y'all a little
Yeah, they
recap.
lost by like 46.
Yeah, give you a recap. It did not cover. So
Did not cover.
next, I'm going to go into my plus money play of the week. I should have done Eastern Carolina, but I had Tulsa beating Arkansas State. Very short on this one. Tulsa was up 17-7 at halftime. I thought the game was, wraps at that point. Thought Tulsa was just going to keep running the ball, run some time out, and just score a few more touchdowns. Nah, that didn't happen. Tulsa gave up 21 in the third, 0 in the fourth. So I'll just let y'all guess which quarter beat them in that game. And Tulsa only scored 1 touchdown in the second half. You can't win ball games doing that. Can't do it. Next, I'm going to go into my lock of the week, which, as you've already heard, did not hit either. So it was UAB versus Louisiana Monroe. UAB just very simple, and that was a -6.5 first half. Sorry, UAB they couldn't move the ball at all, and they had 2 fumbles and a safety first half. So I'm seeing a lot of turnovers in my games. That's just something I've noticed. And let me just pull up real quick, if I'm not mistaken.
It's almost like you cover non-Power 4 schools.
Yes.
Maybe it's just called. It should be called the Turnover Conference.
The TC.
It's pretty lit.
Now, hey, it is what it is as long as they winning.
True.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's it on my games. Looking to bounce back next week. Got a lot of good games on the slate. So yeah, I'm gonna kick it back to Cam.
All right, so overall standings from individual plays, I am sitting at 3-5. So if you tail me, you are currently in debt, and I apologize for that. But it's a long season. We will bounce back. Again, I am a warrior. We will persevere. Brandon's looking at a 4-3-1, solid showing. Got that little push there to keep you over 500. Nice work. Will leading the charge at 5-3. His overalls. What's your overall? You're actually dominating so far.
21-12.
Like he's killing it. So don't listen to me. Go ahead and listen to Will until I get my act together.
We got something brewing, boys.
Nate sitting at 500, 4-4. So that's what we've got so far for standings. Overall, Will, like if you count the games of the week and the individual plays, you are in first. Brandon, you're right behind him. I'm actually at 8-6, and so are you, Nate. So we're doing okay. All right. So next segment, we're gonna move on to team of the week, dog of the week, disappointment of the week. We'll go ahead and start with Brandon. Who was your team of the week and why?
Team of the week, Texas. By far, they look dangerous. Quinn Ewers, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, this Michigan defense was supposed to be top 5 defense in the country, and I don't think there was a single time in the game where it looked like Texas was struggling to move the football. So I don't know if that's just a showing for how good Texas is, or if Michigan was not everything that they were cooked up to be. But Texas, they look good in every aspect of the game. I know Michigan isn't really known for slinging the rock all over the yard, but, I mean, Texas defense was just swarming. I mean, there's nothing they could do. They had a few turnovers, and they took advantage. I mean, team of the week for sure. They make me nervous a little bit being a Georgia fan, so Texas.
For
Welcome.
sure. I will go ahead and do mine. My team of the week, I've got to give my flowers to these guys. Clemson, they came out and made a statement after getting whooped by Georgia. I was thinking maybe, that would have had a negative impact on them. App State, supposed to be this, group of 5 team that is going to make a run at, a potential playoff berth. And so I thought those things coming together would, equal, okay, Clemson might struggle here. And they came out and dropped like 35 straight before the end of the first quarter. The offense was on fire. App State couldn't get anything going on their offensive side. Clemson's defense was all over them. Just better athletes, better coaching, everything was better. So actually, I had Clemson. I was pretty high on them at the beginning of the year. I have them as my second best team in the ACC behind behind Miami. Sorry. So I was really disappointed week 1 when they came out kind of flat, but I'm glad that they kind of bounced back and look more like the team that I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. So Clemson's my team of the week. Will, who you got?
Northern Illinois. You go into South Bend and win. They didn't look good at all. It might have been Notre Dame just was that bad. But if you can beat a team that just came off a big win at Kyle Field, Texas A&M, and now they're basically out of the playoff race now. So that'd be my team of the week, Northern Illinois. You beat a top 10 team as a group of 5 school. You're going to be it.
Yeah, I feel like Notre Dame's got a tough road for a playoff now. I don't. Strength of schedule cannot be good.
They play USC at the end of the year. They'll be solid. But yeah, they have to go. They have to win out and win convincingly in all games.
Yeah,
One more win and it's over for them.
Did we mention
One
that?
more loss, sorry.
yeah.
Notre Dame paid Northern Illinois $1.4 million to come play
Whooped.
Ugh.
in South Bend and
To get
lost.
smoked.
I did have Northern Illinois plus 28.5. Should have took money line.
I mean, what was the money line at?
I have no
That hit?
clue.
Probably like minus.
Yeah,
Northern
definitely.
Illinois plus 20.5. Squeaked by.
It had to be
Squeaked
like
by.
plus 900 at least.
Yeah, it was close. But yeah, Northern Illinois plus 20.5. That's one of the 21.
Leaving money on the table. Nate, who you got? Team of the week.
Yeah, so my team of the week is the Gamecocks of South Carolina. They had a bad first week, struggled against Old Dominion. They did get the win, but and then they go on the road to just blow out Kentucky 31-6. Dominant performance by the defense in this game. And as Brendan said earlier, they held Kentucky to 44 yards on 6 completions. And then
That is wild.
I mean, yeah, it's like. And then they only gave up 139 rushing yards on 46 attempts.
they had to stop throwing it. It was not working.
So I don't know. I watched the game. Like we said, Kentucky's offense did not look good at all. But South Carolina's defense does look like it is coming up and could be a force in the future.
Very nice. Let's move on to Dog of the Week. Brandon, who is your Dog of the Week?
I have Taylon Green, Arkansas's quarterback. Taylon Green, I think a lot of people wrote him off early in the season because he did transfer from Boise State into an SEC team with a pretty tough schedule. Threw for over 416 yards. I mean, not a lot of guys in college football throwing for over 400 yards. The guy just makes things happen. He's good on his legs. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. If he just had a defense, I see this team being probably top 8 with their schedule in the SEC. So it's my Dog of the Week. Somebody to look and watch moving forward for sure.
Nice. All right. I'm going to go with Kyle McCord. 4 touchdowns, 381 yards passing. And that was the week before. He also threw 4 touchdowns and 350 yards passing. But this time he did it against a Georgia Tech team that I've been pretty high on from the onset. So Syracuse, they're missing a lot on defense, so I don't know how great of a year they're going to have, but this guy's going to keep them in games. This is a potential, future NFL quarterback that I think we can be pretty high on. Really like the way he plays. Will, go ahead with your dog of the week.
I already mentioned him earlier. It's Kyle Monangai. Anytime you have 27 attempts, that's your whole offense. 208 yards, that's ridiculous. And then 3 touchdowns just to go along with it. You could do 27 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. That's still a day. So, yeah, it's Kyle Monangai, kind of giving recognition to a guy who I don't think any of you guys knew who he was coming into this.
I do now.
Yeah, he's
Dog.
a dog. Nate?
All right, Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, so my player of the week is actually Ashton Jonty from Boise State.
Dude, yeah, throw these stats out here.
Look good. So I'm going to get into him a little bit later, but I will say for the game against Oregon, he did have 25 carries, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he was
Dog.
a bulldozer out there.
It's not even his best game.
It was not.
All right, last one. Let's go. Disappointment of the week. Brandon, who you got?
I'm actually going to switch it up and go with the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Ooh.
Only having a 4-point victory over Houston. There was a lot of noise surrounding Oklahoma going into the season. Jackson Arnold. It just looked like disappointing defense from Oklahoma, which is kind of their MO the last couple of years. Jackson Arnold didn't look terrible, but Donovan Smith from Houston, 24 for 28, 260, 1 touchdown. I don't know how you let that happen when you're an Oklahoma Sooners team, which is in the SEC now. I don't know how you let that happen at home.
Not a real SEC team.
No, fake.
All right, so mine is. We talked about him a little bit earlier. And I'm gonna rag on these guys. Freaking Auburn. Auburn is my disappointment of the week. Anytime you get where the previous episode we're like hyping a team up and then they just drop the ball completely, that is going to be my disappointment of the week every single time. California is not a great football team, but Auburn made them look good, and that from an SEC school that's supposed to have some of the top skill guys in the league, that is unacceptable from my perspective. So Auburn, without a doubt, is my disappointment of the week. Will, who you got?
Kind of along the same lines as Cam is a team I was hyping up last week and then kind of just ripped my heart out. It's Iowa. Now, from a college football world as a whole, everyone knows the disappointment's Notre Dame. Just beat Texas A&M and
Facts.
then loses to Northern Illinois. But for me personally, it's Iowa. I said it last week. I was on the train. I'm off the train. It's been a week.
Hop
I'm
off that thing.
Yeah,
I'll take the bus.
It's bad. Their defense is still elite, but they will not score points all year. So yeah, I'm off the train. Iowa, biggest disappointment.
Yeah,
ahead,
so gotcha. My disappointment of the week is the Arkansas Razorbacks. I know he touched on that game a little earlier, but just to sum it up, they were up 21-7 at halftime. The second half, it was just managed very badly. They played a lot more conservative, which I do not understand with how that first half went. They did have 2 second-half turnovers. The biggest note I took on this game is Arkansas outgained Oklahoma State 648 to 385 yards. Insane. They almost had 700 yards of offense and lost that game.
Oh my God.
Now, with that being said, Taylor Green did look outstanding, as Brandon said. All right, back to Cam.
All right. So, new segment. Very excited to introduce this one. I wanted to give something to Nate. And he actually came up with the name of this segment, which I love. Basically, it's going to turn into kind of an open-ended discussion. Nate's going to have some topics that he's going to want to delve into. He'll throw them out there, and we'll have a little bit of a, just a kumbaya about it. We'll have like 2 or 3 of these, and then we'll kind of go into the finale of this episode. But we're going to introduce Nate for his segment called Baked Beans.
I appreciate that, Cam. I'm excited for this moment. And also, it just gives us a time to just kind of go on about some things that, like, we just want to get off our chest about college football, right? Like, we talk about it all day, but now we get to sit where everybody can hear it. So, to start off, boys, we're going to go over to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs. That program is heading in the wrong direction. I just want to know what y'all see from this. And honestly, like, is this it for him? Is his son's draft stock dropping? Just throw some points out there. Let me see what you got.
Brandon, tell me what you think, please.
I think that Colorado, this is actually a good matchup, Colorado and Nebraska, because two head coaches that are newer in their programs. The biggest thing I've seen is Nebraska hired a guy that's good at building a program and building a football team, whereas now it looks like Colorado hired a guy who just cares about promoting his guys, promoting himself, and football is, like, winning football games is not at the highest priority. So,
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't care about a walk-on's Instagram handle at practice on the back of his jersey.
no.
I just
not at
want
all.
to see you win games, man.
And I don't know who I was talking to earlier in the week about it. It's like, I think I said if Colorado had a 7-on-7 football team, they would be elite. But, like, in real football, in the real world, there's this thing called the offensive and defensive line that are extremely important. And it just looks like the skill players are, like, the only focus at Colorado. And they can't run the ball. They have no time to throw the ball. They get no pressure on the quarterback. It's like everything you need to win football games, they don't have. So, I mean, they got – Shador's not bad. I mean, Travis Hunter is one of the best receivers in the NCAA and probably the best corner in the NCAA, but it doesn't mean anything when you have no pressure on the quarterback. Shador gets pressure all the time. I just don't understand.
The one thing that I don't understand is I get Shador could be frustrated or kind of disappointed in his O-line or something like that, but I don't get calling him out in the press conference saying, how many times did Raiola get touched? Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get sacked all the time. But also, watching the game, yes, he was under a lot of pressure, but some of those sacks also, too, were him holding the ball too long.
Yeah, he was.
That was a problem last year, too.
He was Justin Fieldsing that thing, just holding on to trying to make a play.
This could be a long 10 games for him if they don't support him.
And, I mean, we talk about his draft stock. If that's his style of play to hold the football, that's not going to play in the NFL by any means.
No, and do you think the way these GMs and coaches look at Shador, I mean, he's a great athlete. We've all seen that. But do you think the comments of throwing his O-line under the bus, there was also out there that he went to the locker room 2 minutes early in the Nebraska game. Do you think things like that are going to hurt?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that in general he appears to be a distraction. Like, I mean, looking at that team, you don't ever look at the team of Colorado. You look at that's who you talk about Shador, or maybe you talk about Travis Hunter some, but like you talk about Dion, you talk about Shador. The fact that those are the two guys that you talk about, we can look at like any other team and we can point to 4, 5, 6 guys and the coach that you will talk about and like, okay, this is a team right here, but this is two dudes that want the headlines of everything that has to do with Colorado. And I don't think that is going to play at the next level.
Right. And going back to him calling out and asking how many times Raiola got touched, that's not only a jab at his own line, that's a jab at his defensive line as well, saying that they can't get any pressure on the quarterback.
No pressure on the
either.
QB.
So, I mean, you just went ahead and pissed off the most important players on the football field, and you're supposed to be the leader. I don't see that going well for any football team
and
ever.
that has an impact in game too. Like those dudes will stop playing for you.
Oh, for
They
sure.
will, like,
For sure.
They take that personal. Like they'll stop blocking for you. I mean, even if they weren't good at it before, like, oh no, let me show you how bad we can be. Like
Yeah,
they'll take
right.
that personal.
So to finish off the Colorado conversation, I just want to kind of go around the room real quick, just quick yes or no. Is this Dion's last year at Colorado?
No. I think the main reason, not because he's a good coach, which I don't think he's that as bad as people are like saying or anything like that. He sells tickets. Like, as much as you hate to see it, like kind of like with the Tim Tebow experiment in AA ball. He was not good, but he sold tickets
For sure.
So
Well,
I think that's why he will stay there as long as he's like not getting in like legal trouble or something like that, or like as long as he's coaching and making money for the program, he will stay there.
Yeah, so like not necessarily being fired, but like him just walking away, especially with his sons leaving.
So how many years was Tebow in minor league baseball?
3-4 years maybe.
Okay, so if we equate it to that, maybe Dion has 3 or 4. I mean, he does sell. Like the program makes money. I am a bit more of a purist when it comes to football. Like I don't want to. No man should be above a team, and no team should be above another team. That distraction. If the program wants to make money, then he's going to stay. If the program wants to win, I think he's got to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes from a Colorado football team that has never really strived to win in a long time. I think Dion is under a 5-year, $29.5 million deal with Colorado. So, I mean, what is this, year 2? So, I mean, it's not like he doesn't have options if he does leave, but I think the buyout on his contract now is like $8 million if he leaves after year 2. So that's not a lot of money in a power 4 school. But
No.
I think you'll kind of start to see too as well that as much as people say you kind of have to build through the transfer portal, you can't build solely through the transfer portal, and that's
Florida
what he's
State.
doing.
So actually, let me reverse that. In his contract, Sanders would owe Colorado $15 million if he left after his first year. He would owe $10 million if he leaves in his second year, $8 million in the third, and $5 million after that.
So
He'd have to get fired.
but do you think his son's leaving is gonna like? Why is he there at this point? Like he was at Jackson because of his sons, and now he's at Colorado. Like, what's the point?
I think he legit wants to coach, but
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to coach at Colorado in the future. I
Fair.
mean, like, it's kind of segueing into potential hot seats for coaches. Norvell, I don't think he'll be on it. I think he's a good coach, but that's Dion's alma mater. I think that's his end goal.
Well, he's got to win
see. Yeah,
if he wants that. He's got to win
for sure. Because Norvell's pretty. He's solidified there. Like unless he really messes up, I think like Dion don't have a chance for that anytime soon.
He's messed up pretty bad with DJ.
I think a better route for Dion would have been to go to a bigger school and just been a DB's coach for like 2 years, and like brought tickets, brought Travis Hunter, brought his sons.
They would have
but
been on a
not
bigger
been
stage.
the head coach.
Yeah.
I know that's probably not what Dion wants because as we've seen,
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, he's prime
it's
time.
definitely an ego thing. But like, say he went to anywhere with a good coach right now, and he just saw how the show ran for a minute, and then moved on after that. I think he would have been way better instead of just launching himself into a Power 4
For sure.
school right off the bat.
For sure. Great guy. Egos are just catching up a little bit with all 3 of them. But at the end of the day, like it's his decision. When they leave, it's his decision. So we're just going to jump into the next part of this segment. And this is the phone, boys. We're going to go into the hot seats of college football after 2
love
weeks.
this.
A lot of it bleeds over from last year, too. I'm just going to name a few names, and then we're going to jump into it.
The beans are on the stove.
Beans are on the
We're
stove,
cooking
baby.
the beans.
We're going to go
Beans are on the
with...
stove. It's great.
I might throw one in there. Looking at the bio and like what he's done at the school, don't know if it's even worth talking about, but it's just some talk going around. So we're gonna start with Shane Beamer, Mark Stoops, and Marcus Freeman. Those are the 3 I think really have to prove themselves this year to stay in college football as a head coach. Now, what are y'all takes on that? What do y'all think they have to do to keep their job? Whether like South Carolina, if they lose this game this week against LSU, is Shane Beamer pretty much done? And also, sorry I didn't write this down, but Billy Napier, he's on the hot seat, but he might as well just leave on his own. So,
He's in the furnace. He's in the furnace.
but these other ones, those are ones that could be toss ups, and we're not sure how they'll go. So, just give me your takes a little bit on that.
I personally think that Stoops is fine for now, unless he has an absolutely dreadful year, like 1-11, 2-10, like Billy Napier style.
Oh, hell,
He's fine.
from that South Carolina game, it looks like it could.
Yes, but I think Stoops has done enough in the past. He's taken Kentucky, which used to be a horrible program. They lost like 31 straight years to Florida, to 10-win seasons consistently. But with Beamer and especially Freeman has some tough losses.
For
Beamer,
sure.
I think he's a really likable guy, which helps him.
Beamer ball, baby.
But Freeman for sure, I think should be on the hot seat. You can't lose to Northern Illinois this year. I think it was Marshall last year and Stanford, when Stanford is not in the height of their prime anymore.
God no.
Yeah, it's been some tough losses over there. I think if he's not gone this year, he has to make the playoff next year. He's done.
I think he has to make the playoff this year.
I don't know if he can.
If they win out,
It'll be tough.
If they win out, I think they've got a reputation. If they win out, I think they make it.
I know it really doesn't matter, but he's definitely a player's coach. I don't know if y'all have seen that. But, like, he's a player's coach. They love him. Everybody at the school loves him. But at the end of the day, it's wins and losses. Like Notre Dame, they're in a position without being in a conference. Even if they only lose 2 games a year, and those are bad losses, playoff chances are wrapped.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a different take on Mark Stoops. I think that it just depends on how Kentucky, if they want to just keep being mediocre at year after year after year. I mean, he's had, let's see, one.
Yeah, I mean, they're floating above water, barely, but they are.
He started at Kentucky in 2013. So it's been over 10 years. He's had 2 seasons with 8 wins or more. So it's just, I mean, they go bowling every year, but it's just mediocre. And not to mention, they just had an awful showing against South Carolina. They played Georgia this week, which would be another awful showing. Then they go and play Ohio. Might get a win there. Then they got Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Murray State. We're not going to talk about that. Then Texas, then Louisville. There's a solid chance that they could lose 8 out of the next 9 games.
Where's the Florida game?
At Florida.
Ooh, so
Gives us a shot. Still probably Kentucky.
the crazy part, though, about Stoops' contract is he just recently signed it through 2031.
Yeah.
And he's been there for 10 years before that.
So, but catch this, okay? His buyout is 4.5. Every year he's there, it decreases $500,000.
His buyout's only 4.5.
Yes,
That's not that bad compared to a lot of.
So the
For an
thing
SEC
is
school.
if it's going to keep decreasing every year, I mean, you can look at it 2 ways here. At the end of the day, like, if they want to be mediocre, like Brendan said, like, keep them. But if you really want to take it to the next level, you got to look again.
That's my thing is, like, at what point, like, if it hasn't changed now and they still have the same viewpoint about their program, it's not like they've ever been above a certain level of mediocrity. Like, when do they change their minds and decide, oh, maybe we do want to win, he's not the guy.
Yeah, so he's been there 11 years, and he's, correct, 11 years since 2013?
Yep.
Yep, so he is 74-65. I mean, he's above water, barely.
It's just the definition of, like, this is an average
Mid.
school. Yeah.
With how bad Kentucky was when he first got there,
For sure.
it's 1,000 times better. But I do see the point where he's not a national championship winning coach, but he will, like, say he went to Florida. We go 2-10 this year. We're back to 8-4 in 2 years. He can build you back up to where you're winning games and going bowling every year. But other than that,
agree
he's
with
not going to
that.
do anything.
For sure, yeah. So we're just going to move on now. We got 2 more. We're going to make these as fast as possible. So through 2 weeks, we're just going to go around the room real quick and name who we think our Heisman favorites are so far this year. I'll start off. I'm just going to go back to my player of the week, Ashton Jonty. Through 2 games this year with Boise State, he first game was against Georgia Southern, 20 carries for 267 yards, 6 touchdowns. Against Oregon, 25 carries, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Man is just a bowling ball running through teams right now.
I watched the highlight.
It's
tape.
legit.
Yeah,
So we'll see if
he's
he
a
can keep
show.
this. If he can keep this pace up for the rest of the year, he'll definitely be in New York. So we'll see. Will, go ahead.
I think I got 2 players. They're both from the same team, so it's kind of tough for me to choose between them. I don't know if either of y'all had them. We hadn't priorly discussed this. Noah Fafita and McMillan from Arizona. They have been balling this year, and they were very good last year, and they were young last year. Now I think, especially with Fafita being a mobile quarterback, almost every single time a quarterback wins it, it's because he's mobile. He's able to do those Heisman moments where he, like Lamar, would rush for a touchdown on 4th and 17 somehow. But yeah, I think I got Fafita or McMillan.
Okay. I'm gonna have two as well. The boring pick that I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have, but I had him at the beginning, so I have to stick with it. Is Cam Ward? Just so the game is slower for him than it is other people. Just the way he's processing. I think he's playing on a different level. If it continues, I don't think it's a contest for who wins the Heisman.
For sure.
I'm gonna have a dark horse candidate. I'm gonna go over him again. Kyle McCord. This is a future pro quarterback, 110%. 8 touchdowns through 2 games. He is a gunslinger, so he's going to make a little bit of, he's going to make some mistakes, but the confidence is there and the team rallies behind him. If Syracuse is a winning program and they make some noise throughout the year, Kyle McCord's name will be in the discussion. I do not think he wins, but he will be in the discussion and is a good value pick.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Kyle Monangai, and I was about to be so excited from Rutgers. Oh my goodness, I thought that was about to be electric if you said Monangai.
Not this time. Brandon, who you got?
So, being the SEC specialist, I actually have 4 guys I could easily see winning the Heisman at the end of the year, depending on obviously how they do in these like big games that we have coming up. Like I know Georgia, Alabama, Texas just played a big game, but they still got to go through Georgia, stuff like that. I got Milroe, Beck, Jackson Dart, and Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers is actually the favorite at plus 500 to win the Heisman right now. I also think Dart is a favorite, and
Dart's going crazy.
I think Carson Beck is a favorite too, but I see Milroe having a good run at it as well. He will be in New York at the end of the year. So,
all right, awesome guys. Yeah, so we unfortunately are running out of time, so we will not get to the last one, but we will pick up on that Thursday. And I'm going to kick it back over to Cam.
All right. So last thing, we're just going to do a quick teaser, preview of week 3. We're going to film again on Thursday, which will be our preview for the weekend. Brandon, give us our games of the week, and then we're going to get out of here.
Games of the week coming up. We have LSU, South Carolina, big SEC matchup. Now, going to Thursday, could get into a little South Carolina money line talk. We'll see. But that'll be a big one. It'll show which team. I don't think LSU's really been tested that much except for that USC game. South Carolina could take advantage. We got Alabama, Wisconsin. First time Alabama will be tested this week. That'll be exciting. I still think Alabama is much better team than Wisconsin.
They kind of got tested versus South Florida.
Exactly. A little bit. No nod from Nate over there. But now my favorite game of the week is going to be Boston College, Missouri. After seeing Boston College get tested a little bit against Florida State and coming out with a victory there, it'll be interesting because Missouri is a good football team. They've struggled a little bit. I think Brady Cook has not looked as good as we thought he was going to look. So that'll be interesting to see what happens and see how Missouri kind of deals with facing an actual legitimate football team this week.
The defense has not struggled. They haven't
Not
given
at
up.
all.
They haven't given up a point.
0 points.
But they've played Helen Keller School of the Blind and Deaf. So. Now, the other one, I think we have 4 this week. We're going to look at Arizona and K-State. So that'll be
2
something
ranked
to
teams?
be. Yep.
Kennesaw State
teams.
or Kansas State?
Kennesaw State.
K.
The one from Kansas.
If it was at Kennesaw State, I'd probably go. Arizona versus Kennesaw State.
I would too.
I'd wear an Arizona jersey.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Live podcast
You can't wear
KSU.
KSU stuff. That going to do it?
That is it. For
All right,
our
y'all.
games of the week.
That is the end of the episode. We will be back on Thursday with our preview for week 3. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing y'all next time. Take care.